public gatherings of individuals until further notice. Furthermore, the CDC has issued guidelines to limit the gatherings of groups. The City Planning Board intends to meet on a regular schedule and will meet the guidelines of the Open Public Meeting Act by utilizing teleconferencing and video systems. Public participation in public meetings has been revised, and the public may participate through a conference call-in system and video. The public is encouraged to call into the conference call system or video through the phone numbers and access codes transmitted in the change of location notice and the special meeting notice sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger and posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public through the windows. Board professionals will also be available via conference call during this meeting as well. All parties on the conference call will have the opportunity to hear the planning board meeting. During the portions of the meeting that are not open for public comment, all callers from the public will be muted and the board will not be able to hear any public comment through the conference call system. During the public comment periods, those on the call-in lines who have interest in addressing the board will first be organized by last name and called upon to speak. After all organized members of the public speak, the process will happen again until all the public has had an opportunity to speak once for no more than 5 minutes in any given public meeting portion. A timer will chime at the completion of each 5-minute period, and I will notify you that your timer has expired. Public meeting assistance accessing the call number should call Planning Department 732-745-5050. Members of the public that are on their phones and thus don't have access to the I guess let's call it the buttons that the rest of us do who are on digitally. *6 is your way to self-unmute and self-mute. So keep that in mind if you'd like to speak at any of the portions where that is appropriate. *6. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez. Welcome everyone to the November 12th, 2020 Planning Board meeting of the City of New Brunswick. If we could begin with roll call tonight.
Certainly. Yalitza Checo.
Here.
Dale Vickers.
Here.
Suzanne Sikora Ludwig.
Here.
Christella Tella.
Here.
Brian Berger.
Here.
Diana Lopez. Bob Cardican.
Here.
John Petrolina. George Shadid. Manuel Castaneda. Here. Jeff Crum.
Here. Thank you very much. Would you mind reading the public announcement, please?
Certainly. Please be advised that the you unmuted? Yeah. Just there we go. There we go. Please be advised that notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gives sufficient notice of the time, place, and conduct of all public meetings of the Planning Board of the City of New Brunswick, has been filed with the City Clerk and placed on an appropriate bulletin board and posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public through the windows in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper of the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger. Additionally, a special meeting notice of the time, place, and manner of conducting this meeting has been made by the Board Secretary, as is required by law, and is also posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public and through the windows in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has issued executive orders limiting size of public gatherings of individuals until further notice. Furthermore, the CDC has issued guidelines to limit gatherings of groups. The City Planning Board intends to meet on a regular schedule and will meet the guidelines of the Open Public Meeting Act by utilizing teleconferencing and video systems. Public participation at public meetings has been revised, and the public may participate through a conference call or video system. The public is encouraged to call into the conference call lines through the phone numbers and access codes transmitted in the above notice, the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger, and posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public through the windows. Board professionals will also be available via conference call and video during this meeting as well. All parties on the conference call will have the opportunity to hear the planning board meeting. During the portions of the meeting that are not open for public comment, all callers from the public will be muted, and the board will not be able to hear any public comment through the conference call system. during the public comment periods. I will first read public comments issued to the board, and then those on the conference call and lines who have interest in addressing the board will be first organized by last name and then called upon to speak. After all organized members of the public speak, the process will happen again until all the public has had an opportunity to speak once and for no more than 5 minutes in any given public meeting portion. A timer will chime at the completion of each 5-minute period, and I will notify you that your time has expired. Public needing assistance, access and call number should call Planning Department 732-745-5050.
Thank you very much. Now the most difficult part of the meeting when we're not in City Hall. I just ask everybody to stand and salute the flag closest to you. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Do we have any minutes tonight to review?
Ms. Pinello, I don't believe we have any minutes for this meeting, correct?
Sorry, Dan. No, not tonight. No minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And any resolutions?
Yes, we have 3 resolutions.
2 resolutions.
Well, oh, 2, yes, 2. Sorry. Yes, 2.
Okay. All right. First, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Which one's the first one on the agenda? 780? Okay. So the folks who vote on 780 who are present here are Yalitza Checo, Dale Vickers, Chris Delatella, Bob Kartika, and Jeff Crum.
Can I have a motion?
I'll move to adopt a resolution. This is Bob Carter.
Thank you.
Second?
I'll second it, Chris Delatella.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Yalitza Checo,
Yes.
Dale Vickers,
Yes.
Chris Delatella,
Yes.
Bob Kartika,
Yes.
Jeff Crum.
Yes.
All right. Next up is the resolution for 30 Van Dyke. The eligible voters on this one are Yalitza Checo, Chris Delatella, Bob Kartika, Manuel Castaneda, and Jeff Crum.
Mr. Chairman, call the board attorney. This is an amended resolution of approval. The board previously approved this resolution. However, there are 2 changes. First is that the applicant is 30 Van Dyke Avenue Urban Renewal LLC. And in case you couldn't tell, I tried to stress the word avenue because that was missing from the last resolution of approval, which the board approved. In terms of the actual text, there was a capitalization of the last S in the word buildings on page 2 and paragraph 2 of the 4th whereas on that page. It should have just been a small s. For some reason, the cap lock was on, but that's the only substantive change.
Thank you. Mr. Eitel, are we approving a whole new resolution then?
With those 2 changes, the word avenue has been added to the applicant's name, and the capitalization, the appropriate capitalization of the letter S in the word buildings.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
It's Chris Delatella. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with the changes.
Yalitza Checo, I'll second.
Thank you.
Yalitza Checo,
Yes.
Chris Delatella,
Yes.
Bob Kartika,
Yes.
Manuel Castaneda. Yes. Jeff Crum.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. We'll move now into our public hearings for the evening. Tonight we have 1 hearing. Our application before us tonight is the State Theater Regional Arts Center at New Brunswick, Inc. This is located at 15 Livingston Avenue, Block 12, Lot 24.01. This is application number PB-2020-14. The applicant is seeking a variance for proposed blade and canopy signage on the Livingston Avenue facade of the existing State Theater building. This is zoning district C4 downtown commercial/office. And I will hand this over to Mr. Clarkin, the applicant's attorney.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, once again, before Mr. Clarkin starts, if I could just confirm that no member of the board believes that they have any conflict with this application.
Marvin, do you just want anyone to speak up if they do believe they have a conflict?
That's correct. No one's contacted me with any potential conflict, and I just wanted to verify that there is no one that believes that they have a conflict with this application.
Hearing no one, I think we have our responses.
Thank you, Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Dominguez. I think Mr. Clarkin is still muted.
All right, let's trying to find him on the, there he is. Wait, hold on. I think with the new rules, he may have to unmute himself. I'm trying to see if I can, no, he's unmuted. We can hear you, Jim.
Wonderful. Good evening, Chairman Crumb, board members, and professional staff. Attorney James Clarkin of the firm of Clarkin and Violo for the applicant. This is an application for a number of sign variances in connection with the renovations and modernization of the State Theater structure, which is now almost 100 years old, and I will happily say remains iconic for this city. We were previously in front of the Technical Advisory Committee back at the end of September, and it approved the State Theater's minor site plan application for both interior and exterior modifications, including such things as a new generator, the emergency escapes, and matters of that type. At that point in time, it was determined that the State Theater's sign package required variance relief. And that is why we are before you this evening. What we have is the theater's request, first and foremost, for one of those old-fashioned blade signs. Those of us old enough to remember know that these types of signs were prevalent beginning when theater started and remained so into the 50s and 60s and even beyond. I actually can remember as a kid going to the State Theater in 1960 and seeing a very similar sign to what we are proposing tonight. And I say that only because I want you to realize that what we're proposing is not new to the State Theater property. We need the variances because the city sign ordinance, like most sign ordinances in town, really aren't specific enough for the kind of unique building that a theater is. So the city never drilled down on the sign variances, and that's why we need quite a number of those variances. For example, on the blade sign, we need height, area, believe it or not, thickness, the projection over the top of the roof line, and its illumination. Those are the major ones. We're also proposing a canopy sign to the left side of the building facing Livingston Avenue. It's rather small, it's only 7 square feet, but it's a sign and it requires some relief from you. The final major variance is the number of what we call facade signs, all right, because we're going to have the blade sign, we're going to have the canopy sign, and we will continue with our marquee sign, which everyone knows. Importantly, to consider, no modifications, no exterior improvements are connected in any way with the sign application. We are in receipt of a memorandum from the Technical Advisory Committee dated November 9 of this year. We started with 6 plan review comments. We resolved 3 of them, and we have 3 left, and we will handle them individually with our witnesses. We have two witnesses this evening for you. The first one is Christian Roche, who is our engineer. He will testify with regard to the sign package. We also have our planner to testify, who will justify the granting of those variances by you. We also have available this evening Sarah Chaplin, who's the president and CEO of the State Theater, in case there's a question that only she can answer. Mr. Chairman, having said all of that, unless you or any of the board members have any initial questions, I'll move to the first witness.
That would be great, Mr. Clarkin. Please do.
We'll call Christian Roche.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Christian. Can you please state your name, spell your name for the record?
Sure, it's Christian Roche, R-O-C-H-E.
Mr. Roche, you swear affirm tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Christian, can you take the board quickly through your credentials?
We know Mr. Roche very, very well. I think he's been here, I feel like almost every meeting, so we are well versed in your credentials, so you can proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Roche, have your credentials changed in any way negatively since you were last before this board until about 1:15 in the morning?
I'm just a little tired, but no, my credentials have not changed.
Thank you very much. Are you familiar with the architectural elevations and the floor plans for the signature package that were prepared by the DLR group?
Yes, I'm familiar with the sign package.
Can you please outline the sign package for the board?
Sure. So as Mr. Clarkin described in his introduction, the applicant is here tonight proposing 3 signs. The first sign is a blade sign, which will be located directly over top of the existing marquee in the central portion of the site along Livingston Avenue. The second sign is a canopy sign, which will be located over a new entryway on the south side of the State Theater. And then lastly, we're proposing to upgrade the existing marquee.
Wonderful.
My intention of,
Are there any changes proposed to the building footprint as part of this application?
there are not.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review the city planner's report dated November 9 of this year?
I have.
And moving to the plan review comments, can you first tackle item number 4?
Give me 1 second, Jim, as I just pull up the letter.
Sure.
Sure. So item number 4 just discussed the section 17.06.050L.4 of the zoning ordinance, where a requirement is stated that projecting signs shall not be closer than 15 feet to any other projecting sign or any freestanding sign, or they shall not be any closer than 5 feet from any interior property lines. And our proposed blade sign meets these requirements. The blade sign is located approximately 45 feet from the nearest property line, and there's no other projecting sign within 15 feet of the proposed sign.
Mr. Chairman, I'll tackle item number 5. I will represent to you that if this application is approved by your board this evening, that I will contact City Attorney T.K. Shammy and request that he put before the City Council a resolution permitting projection into the city's right-of-way. And finally, with regard to item number 6, we will provide testimony with our next witness with regard to the variances and the criteria necessary to grant them. Having said that, that concludes his direct testimony, and he's available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkin and Mr. Roche. Do you have any questions for the professional or the attorney on his representation on the report? Mr. Clarkin, I think you can move on. Thank you.
Wonderful. Gregory Woodruff, please, our planner.
Mr. Chairman, this is our
Yes.
board attorney. Prior to moving on to the next witness, if the board can ask members of the public if they have any questions on cross-examination. Our rules, which were adopted earlier this month, require that cross-examination be conducted after each witness, if there is any.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Do we need to read the?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll take care of this.
Okay, thank you.
All right. At this time, we are preparing to open the meeting to cross-examination of the prior witness for 5 minutes per person in order to assure that the planning board can hear from the interested public and the public can hear the cross-examination. I'll organize any speakers in order by last name. In a moment, the public will be allowed to unmute themselves. At that time, I will ask that those with the last name starting with A to provide me your last name, first name and home address. I will confirm the information is correct. Then move on to the next person alphabetically from A to Z. Upon completion of asking for all last names from A to Z, I will ask one more time for anyone who may want to be placed on an initial list of speakers. We'll then move through the list of speakers by calling the person by name and permitting them 5 minutes to speak. Once we complete the list, we will once again check to see if anyone else would like to comment. After asking 3 times, we will then close the cross-examination portion. Please be mindful that your voice is being telephonically transmitted. Speak slowly and clearly for the benefit of all. I will ask that you please remain silent while folks are being unmuted, and we can all hear each other and begin the speaker registration process. Once again, if you are on a telephone rather than on computer, you'll need to use *6 to unmute yourself and then *6 to remute yourself. And so now I will begin taking names for anyone who would like to be registered to speak here to cross-examine Mr. Roach. I'll try to speed it up. So anyone with the last name A, B, or C, please speak up and we'll put you on the initial list of speakers. A, B, or C. D, E, F. G, H, I. J, K, L. M, N, O. P, Q, R. S, T, U. V, W, X. Y, Z. Is there anyone that did not make it on the initial list of speakers who would like to cross-examine Mr. Roach? Please speak up. Anyone at all? Seeing none?
I'll move that Mr. Gregory Woodruff, if we could swear him in, please.
Mr. Woodruff, can you please state your name, spell your name for the record?
Certainly. Good evening. First name Gregory, Gregggory. Last name Woodruff, Woodruff.
Mr. Woodruff, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed.
Greg, can you give the board the benefit of your education and experience, please?
Certainly. I am an associate at Langen Engineering and Environmental Services. I am a licensed planner nationally through the American Institute of Certified Planners, as well as in the state of New Jersey. I have reviewed all the... Yeah, sorry.
You're also a well-known professional here, so thank you. Unless something's changed, we'll accept your credentials.
Thank you very much. I have appeared before this board before, so thank you very much.
Okay. Greg, what investigation did you undertake in preparation for your testimony this evening?
Certainly. So obviously, as with any planning investigation, reviewed the relevant sections of the city zoning ordinances, the application documents, the master plan, visited the site and the surrounding area, and generally familiarized myself with the existing conditions as well as the proposal documents.
what proof requirements do we have to meet this evening?
Certainly. So as the board's aware, what we're requesting are bulk variances. As we get into the justifications, typically the criteria fall under the C1 requirements or the C2 requirements. I'll provide some more detail as we go, but in my opinion, the justifications for all of the variances that are being requested really fall under the C2 criteria, which really the proof standard is, again, as the board is aware, but just for the sake of the record, really is a balancing test whereby the benefits that would be realized with the variances that are being requested outweigh any detriments or perceived detriments that might result from not complying.
All right, exactly what ordinance relief do we require?
Certainly. So I'm just going to run through here, and they are listed in the planner's letter. So there are, just give me a second, I'm pulling up the planner's letter here to make sure that we cover all of them. So as mentioned first, the number of signs, we are proposing 3, whereby 1 is permitted. The projecting sign area, 6 square feet is permitted. We are proposing a little less than 214 square feet. The awning sign area, 70%, excuse me, of the valance area is permitted, whereby it's being proposed to be 100% of the valance area. As Mr. Clarkin mentioned in his introduction, there is a requirement for the allowable thickness of the sign of 8 inches. We are requesting 18 inches. No internal illumination is allowed. However, we are requesting that the sign include illumination. Technically, signs shall not project more than 3.5 feet into the public right-of-way, whereby the projection is proposed at greater than that at about 7.5 feet. There's a requirement that the sign not project above the eave or a similar structure on the building. However, in this case, we are requesting that the blade sign would extend above the parapet by approximately 8 feet. And then there's 2 other variances that we're requesting that I'm not certain were picked up, but I think out of an abundance of caution, we'd like to identify them, and I will testify to them. And if the board agrees or has no questions, I think just again, out of an abundance of caution, we'd like to identify them. So relative to, there are some requirements for awning signs. It's listed, I think, as other awning sign requirements, whereby a logo is permitted to have a maximum of 4 square feet, whereby we have a logo that has a slightly more than that, at a little over 5 square feet, and that backlit awning signs are prohibited. However, the sign would have LED illumination. So again, just out of an abundance of caution, we wanted to identify those.
Greg, just to provide some context for the board, what is the height of the blade sign proposed to be?
Let me pull up the exact dimension of the blade sign. And actually, I don't know if Mr. Dominguez has the ability, but if we wanted to pull up the architectural plan that had the renderings, maybe it's good to have the visual in front of everyone as we are discussing the signs. I believe
I'm picking it up right now. Hold on one second.
Sure. And that sign, just to answer the question, is 31 feet high and 7 feet wide, that blade sign.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if this is the correct item.
Certainly.
Is this what we want to look at? Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best image. I may toggle back and forth between this is the first page and the second page.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You just let me know what you want me to do.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Can you justify the granting of these variances, Greg?
Certainly. So just to point out, as we're looking at the rendering here, and just hearkening back to the question or the discussion we had relative to the signs and the criteria, in my opinion, there are definitely benefits and I'm going to talk about the signage package as a group. I don't intend to go through them one by one in the interest of time. If anybody has specific questions, obviously we could address individual variances. But as a package, in my opinion, from a planning perspective, as Mr. Clark mentioned, the entire intention of the signage package is to pay homage to the historical character of the previous blade sign. And Mr. Dominguez, you can go to page 2. Keeping this image on page 1 in mind, on page 2 in that lower right-hand corner there, you can see the historical blade sign. So, just comparing those images, the entire intent of the signage package is to pay homage to that historical blade sign, while also reinvigorating what everyone obviously knows is an iconic downtown building. So thinking about that original intent and with the current modern surroundings, clearly the new modern Performing Arts Center is immediately adjacent. It's a large building with quite a bit of mass, and across the street is obviously the Hedrick Hotel, again, another large building with large mass. So from a planning perspective, the size and scale of these signs, even though there are some issues relative to the distance projection, the size of the sign, it extending above the top of the building, in my opinion, from a planning perspective, provides the benefit of reinvigorating again that existing iconic downtown building, while also paying homage to that historical character. One thing that I think is worth noting in my review of some background planning documents is I did look up the signage requirements for the redevelopment area that is immediately adjacent, that includes the Performing Arts Center. The signage requirements for that area, which were written obviously much more recently than the signage requirements for this specific site, are much more, what we are proposing is much more in keeping with what would be allowed or what was allowed in that area. So I think it's clear from a planning perspective that larger signage in this downtown core with larger buildings with bigger mass is certainly, or was certainly, deemed to be appropriate more recently than the sign ordinance that for this specific site was written. I think it's also important to note that with the larger and more dense and busy downtown environment, this sign will allow pedestrians, drivers to identify the building better as they are working their way through downtown to the site for various shows. The modifications and upgrades to the blade sign and the marquee and the awning sign will help drivers and pedestrians alike. Specifically, that awning sign that is to building left, sort of recessed a little bit from the building, will help pedestrians identify that additional access way to the building, as they are in that sort of streetscape environment, walking past the building in either direction, to have another identifying mark above that doorway sign. So again, as a package, I believe that sort of summarizes what I believe are the benefits to the overall package, even though there are some variances from the specific requirements of the code.
Do you see any detriments if the sign variances are granted by the board?
In my opinion, I do not. Obviously, there's the two prongs that we should discuss. In my opinion, there's no substantial detriment to the public good. While the signage does have, again, some technical deviations from what is required, there's no protrusions into or interruption of pedestrian flow. The signs aren't going to slow down or make it harder for people to access or find the building. If anything, they are really intended to do the exact opposite, while also reinvigorating the building in general, both visually and just operationally. And the second prong, in my opinion, there's no substantial impairment to the intent or purpose of the zone plan. Obviously, that intent was to create a downtown core environment that's vibrant and has highly functional mixed-use buildings, and there's obviously a great place for a building like this in that mix of uses in the downtown environment.
Greg, let's return for a moment to the C2 analysis. That involves a weighing of the benefits to the city and any detriments, correct?
Correct.
And when you do the weighing analysis, what is your ultimate conclusion?
Certainly. So my conclusion would be that obviously in this case, the benefits of the overall sign package clearly outweigh any detriments or perceived detriments relative to the specific deviations from the ordinance code, and that the ultimate proposal also furthers one of the specific purposes of the municipal land use law, which is another important criteria. In this case, I would say it's purpose I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. So in my opinion, when you perform that balancing test, the proof criteria have been met, and the board could grant the variances.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that concludes his direct testimony. He's available for any questions or examination.
Thank you, Mr. Clark and Mr. Woodruff. I just have one more of a procedural question for Mr. Eitel. I know the applicant is seeking a resolution to be adopted tonight. I just want to make sure Mr. Woodruff mentioned a couple of minor variances. I believe they're captured in the resolution. In the whereas clause, the planning board has made the following findings and determinations in number 3, but can we just confirm that?
Well, at this point, it would, since the board has not voted on the application, but I have captured those additional variances.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Woodruff? All right, Mr. Dominguez, do you want to open it up for any cross-examination?
Yes, certainly. So at this time, we are once again preparing to open a meeting for cross-examination of the prior expert. Is somebody speaking up? I don't know if somebody was trying to. Okay. To ensure that the planning board can hear from the interested public and the public can hear the cross-examination, I will organize the speakers in order by last name. In a moment, speakers will be allowed to unmute themselves. At that time, I will ask those with the last name starting with A to provide me your last name, first name, and home address. I will then confirm the information is correct and move on to the next person alphabetically from A to Z. Upon completion of asking for all last names from A to Z, I'll ask one more time for anyone who would want to be placed on the list of speakers. And move through the list by calling a person by name and permitting them 5 minutes to speak. Once we complete the list, we'll once again check if anyone else would like to comment. After asking 3 times, we will close the cross-examination portion. Please be mindful that your voice is being telephonically transmitted. Speak slowly and clearly for the benefit of all. I'll ask that you please remain silent when I initially unmute the phone so that we can all hear each other, and then begin the speaker registration process. Once again, *6 for those on your phone who want to unmute yourselves, *6. So now I will ask that any member of the public who would like to cross-examine Mr. Woodruff with a last name starting with A, B, or C, please announce yourselves and I'll put you on a list. A, B, C. D, E, F. G, H, I. J, K, L. M, N, O. P, Q, R. S, T, U. V, W, X, Y, Z. Is there any member of the public who did not get on the initial list of speakers who would like to? Anyone at all? Seeing none?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dominguez.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our direct case. I'll reserve the right for closing argument after we hear from the public.
Any questions from the, I'm sorry, any, Dan, do you want to read the announcement for the public portion?
Do you not want to do the board questions, or is that after?
I was thinking we would do them after the public.
Sure, okay. All right. So at this time, we are preparing to open the meeting public comment on this application for 5 minutes per person. In order to assure that the planning board can hear from the interested public and that the public can hear public comments, I will organize the speakers in order by last name. In a moment, folks will be allowed to unmute themselves. And at that time, I will ask that those with the last name starting with A through Z to please state their last name, first name, and home address. I will confirm the information is correct and then move on to the next person alphabetically from A to Z. Upon completion of asking for all last names from A to Z, I'll ask one more time for anyone who would like to speak. We will then move through the list of speakers by calling the person by name and permitting them 5 minutes to speak. Once we complete the list, we will once again check to see if anyone else would like to comment. After asking 3 times, I will close the public comment portion. Please be mindful that your voice is being telephonically and telephonically transmitted and to speak slowly and clearly for the benefit of all. I'll ask that you please remain silent while folks are initially unmuting themselves, and we can all hear each other and begin the speaker registration process. I will now ask any member of the public who would like to comment on this specific application with the last name starting with A, B, or C. Please state your full name and home address, and we'll add you to the list. A, B, C. D, E, F. G, H, I. J, K, L.
Charlie Crab.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Cradville, noted.
I'd like to make a comment as well. Sorry. Hello.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment as well. My name is Michael Liu. Last name is L-U.
L-U. Address, Mr. Liu?
It's 20 Livingston.
Thank you. M-N-O. P-Q-R. S-T-U. V-W-X. Y-Z. Is there any other members of the public who would like to be added to the initial list of speakers? Anyone at all? Seeing none. First speaker is Mr. Charlie Cradville. Mr. Cradville, can you please state your name, spell your last name for the record, and I'll swear you in?
Charles Cradville, K-R-A-T as in Tom, O-V as in Victor, I-L.
Mr. Cradville, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You're on.
Thank you. I'm here to speak at the end of the meeting, but I did appreciate the presentation. I think the State Theater is a excellent community institution that is sorely missed right now, and I wish them well with the signage. I like how it is in line with the past history of the theater, and the renderings look great. So I wish them well, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cradville. Next up is Michael Liu. Are you still there, Mr. Liu?
Still here, yes.
All right. Please state your name, spell your name for the record.
Michael Liu, L-U.
Thank you. Mr. Liu, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. So obviously, I'm a resident of New Brunswick. I live in close proximity to the State Theater. In fact, I'm looking at the State Theater right now. So it's my opinion that the existing signage at the entrance to the State Theater is perfectly bright enough. In fact, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, when it's blazing the night sky, it's certainly bright enough that people can see it from far and wide. I think people know where the State Theater is, and they can already find it. So I don't know if erecting a 50-foot high sign is truly necessary. I know Mr. Woodruff alluded to an analysis where he evaluated potential detriment to the public, but I consider myself as one of the public members who would be negatively impacted by this sign as it illuminates my bedroom at night. Again, I really don't think anyone is searching for the State Theater in the middle of the night. So fine, if you want to have the sign on during shows or during weekdays up until 10 p.m., fine. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But having an illuminated LED light sign, one of which may be 200 square feet, seems a bit obtrusive. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment on this application? Anyone at all? Seeing none, the public comment on the application is now closed.
Mr. Chairman, some closing comments, if I could.
That would be great. Thank you, Mr. Clarkin.
With regard to Mr. Bruce's comments, the blade sign is not 50 feet in height, it's 31 feet. But I think more importantly, it's the intention of the State Theater that the blade sign will be turned off shortly at the end of each performance. I don't know if that's going to be a half hour or 45 minutes, but this is not a sign that's going to be on all throughout the night. And certainly the applicant would accept as a voluntary condition of your hopeful approval that we would take that blade sign off at that point in time after the performance is over. The other thing, and I say this many times to you, anytime you grant a variance, there's going to be some detriment to the public good. But the way the statute reads is you have to be convinced that the detriment is substantial before you would have a basis to deny that variance. In view of the light shed that is very substantial right now that exists not only from the State Theater but from the Heldrich itself and the new Performing Arts Center and a 20-story structure, I don't believe that we are adding any measurable additional light shed to this area. That would be all that I would have to say, and I request that the application be granted. Thank you.
Am I allowed to counter?
No.
Am I allowed to counter what Mr. Clarkin said?
There is, Mr. Liu, the public comment section is now over. That was his response to you. I think we're going to turn it now to board discussion and comment. Are there any board members who wish to ask any questions or have any discussion on this application?
This is Bob Kartik. I'm just responding to that, the comment that was just received. Would the new blade sign be turned off at the same time in the evening as the main marquee, or does the marquee stay on all night long?
The marquee stays on all night long, but it's the blade sign that we're willing to close it down.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And the marquee sign being on all the time is an existing condition.
Any other board members have questions or comments? How does the board feel in general of the proposed condition? Is that something that we would like to consider?
Bob Kartik, I would agree with that condition. I see no reason why both of those signs should be on all night long.
Thanks, Bob.
The voluntary condition that we're offering only reflects the blade sign.
Understood. Right, does anyone wish to make a motion on this application?
Mr. Chair, we have to read the conditions into the record.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Katie Pinello. Before I go through the comments, can I just confirm that the condition will be blade sign will be turned off approximately a half hour after the end of each performance every evening? Does that sound all right to everyone?
That's certainly what the applicant is proposing to you.
Okay. All right. Should the board act favorably on this application, we recommend the following conditions of approval. Compliance with the terms of the city engineering report dated September 25th, 2020 for this project. The applicant shall schedule a pre-construction meeting with the city engineering department. Compliance with the terms of the city planning department report dated November 9th, 2020 for the above project. Planning review escrow funded for all anticipated post-approval reviews, payment of all outstanding taxes and water sewer fees, Middlesex County Planning Board approval or waiver, City Council approval for the signage in the public right-of-way, submission of engineering or architectural plans to comply with any changes required by the planning or engineering memos or plan amendments offered at the hearing, if any. We have blade signs shall be turned off approximately 1/2 hour after performances end every evening. All utilities and other site improvements to be maintained by the applicant at their sole expense. All on-site utilities to be constructed underground. All temporary encroachments into the public right-of-way shall require city council approval. All construction staging shall be done on site unless an encroachment in allowing into the public right-of-way is approved by city council. Streets shall be kept clean of sediment and debris. The applicant shall cause the streets to be cleaned if directed to do so by the Director of Public Works. Tracking pads shall be installed at all construction exits. Replacement of damaged streets, curbs, and sidewalks per the direction of the city engineer. And we have the following variances requested. Sign projection into the right-of-way, projecting sign thickness, internally illuminated projecting sign extending above the roof line, projecting sign area, number of signs, and then maximum permitted sign logo for canopy sign and backlit canopy sign. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Does any board member wish to make a motion on this application?
Bob Cardick, I'll move to approve with the condition previously stated.
This is Manuel Castaneda. I'll second.
Thank you.
Pacheco,
Yes.
Dale Vickers,
Yes.
Suzanne Sikora Ludwig,
Yes.
Christopher Teller,
Yes.
Brian Berger,
Yes.
Bob Cardica,
Yes.
Manuel Castaneda,
Yes.
Jeff Crum.
Yes.
Thank you very much, board members. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Arvind, the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, a copy of the resolution has been given to all board members, and I believe it's also been placed on the online portal for view by the general public. I had asked that the board consider that resolution of approval with an additional condition added to page 4, would be numbered paragraph 19. That new paragraph, number 19, would read, blade sign lighting shall be turned off approximately 30 minutes after performances end every evening. With that one addition, I'd ask that the board consider adopting the resolution or memorializing the resolution.
So moved with the condition enumerated by the board attorney.
Bob Cardick, I'll second.
Do you want to read the rule then?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. It's a checkup.
Yes.
Dale Vickers,
Yes.
Suzanne Sikora Ludwig,
Yes.
Christella Teller,
Yes.
Brian Berger,
Yes.
Bob Cardica,
Yes.
Manuel Castaneda,
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. That was our only hearing of the evening. Are there any other discussion items to bring to the board's attention tonight?
There are not.
Okay, very good. And then we will move to other matters of interest to the public. Mr. Dominguez, do you want to read the announcement again?
Sure. this time, we are preparing to open the meeting to general public comment for 5 minutes per person. In order to assure that the planning board can hear from the interested public and that the public can hear public comments, I will organize the speakers in order by last name. In a moment, I will unmute, well, no, I won't unmute the public calling. People on the call who would like to speak will be able to unmute themselves. Again, that's *6 for people on the phone, *6. I will ask that those with last names starting with A provide me your last name, first name, and home address, and I will confirm that the information is correct. And then we will move on to the next person alphabetically from A to Z. Upon completion of asking for all last names from A to Z, I will ask one more time for anyone who would like to be placed in an initial list of speakers. We will then go through the list of speakers by calling the person by name and permitting them 5 minutes to speak. Once we complete the list, we will then check to see if anyone else would like to comment. After asking 3 times, I will then close the public comment portion. Please be mindful that your voice is being telephonically transmitted and to speak slowly and clearly for the benefit of all. I'll ask that you please remain silent while folks are initially unmuting themselves so we can all hear each other and begin the registration process. I ask now that anyone from the public who wishes to speak to unmute themselves, and I will ask that anyone who would like to comment, any general public comment, with the last name starting with A, B, or C, to please state your full name and home address. A, B, C. D, E, F. G, H, I. J, K, L.
Charlie Cradaville, Saddam Street.
Noted, Mr. Cradaville. M, N, O. P, wait, M, N, O, P, O, P, Q, R, S. Man, the letters are hard. M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Is there any member of the public who did not get on the initial list of speakers who would like to speak? Anyone at all? Seeing none, our sole and only speaker is Mr. Cradaville, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez, and good evening to the members of the board. I have a few items to follow up from the meeting this prior week. I wanted to ask, was the resolution of memorialization approved tonight, or will there be a resolution of memorialization at a future date?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Arvin, Untitled Board Attorney. This is an opportunity for Mr. Cradaville to make any public comments that he wishes. It's not a question and answer period.
Great. I'm just asking about the resolutions approved by the board tonight. There were the 2 warehouse ones, and did you also approve one for the Cancer Institute?
We did not.
No. Okay. Is there a future date that one might be approved? Is it scheduled for the next meeting?
I don't think the agenda has been set. Again, you know, we're happy to clarify anything, but this is more about public comment.
Sure. I understand. I do want to speak about that matter insofar as the redevelopment agreement that has been approved by the MCIA and the Devco Shell Company. Those agreements all include eminent domain in clear violation of this board's redevelopment plan that you adopted on March 9th. So I do want to just push that for the record. I know I was using that as an objection to the whole matter proceeding on Monday night and that the prior one as well. But that's an issue that still has to be reckoned with. And I'm afraid that, granting preliminary approval on Monday is setting a bad precedent that folks who are giving themselves the power of eminent domain can still get site plan approvals through this board. And I think that really this needs to be corrected post haste if that if those agreements really do say eminent domain in them, which they do, and I've shared them with you, they're violating your redevelopment plan. And I suppose I would like some type of response on that, whether you're comfortable giving one now or not. Is there anything anyone can tell me about that issue?
Mr. Cradwell, I don't think anybody can speak to that right now, but I'm sure the planning department would be happy to provide you something if you want to send them a question.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And then the other matter from Monday night was the vote on the application. I know Mr. Petrolino was no longer on the call at the time of the vote. I've written to the board secretary, Mr. Dominguez, to try to discern what happened there and whether Mr. Petrolino has cast a vote on that motion to preliminarily approve the Cancer Institute. I don't think Mr. Petrolino is on this call, but maybe Mr. Dominguez could shed a little light on what happened.
My understanding is that there were some technical difficulties, so trying to get some clarity on that. As he was not there for the vote, he could not cast the vote. We still had quorum, and so the vote carries for the preliminary approval.
Okay, so he won't be casting a vote on that motion.
For preliminary approval, no. I believe that's done with. Arvin, you clarify. You may know more than I do on that front.
He stated the best. We had quorum. There was a vote, and he did not cast a vote.
Okay. And I did try to get some insight as to what would happen next with that application. Obviously, they did not get a final site plan approval, so will they have to file another application, or how would the public be notified of the next step when that time comes?
Mr. Chairman, I know that Mr. Cradwell said that he understood that this was not a question and answer period, but I haven't heard any public comment. I've heard a lot of questions.
Well, I had some comments in there, and I think the record will reflect that the board has been generous in answering questions to help the public understand what's going on. As you know, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, and a lot of people are hard to follow sometimes. I, for one, am just trying to, since I've never seen this situation happen before. I know it's happened in other towns, but in New Brunswick, I can't remember it happening, where a preliminary is granted and not a final. So I just want to know, how the public can be involved in the next step of the process. I tried to get an answer out of you, during the last meeting, and I haven't gotten it. Perhaps are you saying if I put something in writing, I'll be able to get an answer, or what's the best way for me to get this answer?
Submit something in writing to the planning director.
Okay. I'll be sure to do that. And I'll just close with some comments about the unfortunate decision made to relocate Lincoln Annex School to 50 Jersey Avenue. That site is one that's going to take many years to clean up. And so it's
just a heads up, Mr. Cradwell, 1 minute, just letting you know.
Thank you. So, as you know, the current Lincoln Annex is a fine school. It's a beloved school, I would venture to say, and giving it up for a flat piece of contaminated land over by Walgreens is not a good trade, no matter what Robert Wood says. And I did take the opportunity to go to Trenton to review the records of the contamination there. And at first blush, it looks really bad. It looks like there's lots of different very serious contamination issues with that piece of land that have not even been begun to be remediated. They're just at the stage of, tracking it and having wells there. So I do want to put that on the record, since I know this board voted recently to allow the Board of Ed to acquire that land to build a school. Well, don't expect to see one there anytime soon because of these contamination issues. And just also want to reiterate my concerns about conflict of interest and the role that it's played in this application. Obviously put those issues on the record at the last meeting, but since then I've learned that another board member, Suzanne Sikora Ludwig, was present at the June 3rd, 2019 announcement of the Cancer Institute, and probably should not have been participating in the hearing as well. So I'm disappointed that things went the way they did, but I'll leave it at that and wish you all well. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cradaville.
Is there anyone else from the public who did not get a chance to speak who'd like to be added and have an opportunity to speak for 5 minutes? Seeing none.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to make a motion to adjourn?
This is Manuel Castillo. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. Chris Delta.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Aye.